was talking with a client the other day, and a client and slash friend, and we were just having this conversation, and she's like, Tami, I feel like I'm in this fake it till you make it. I feel like I'm bluffing my way, and I'm going to be found out. I feel like Tami, I feel like I have imposter syndrome. Like, no, I know I have imposter syndrome. And I just smiled, and inside, I knew where this conversation was going. And I was like, tell me more. And she starts to explain how she just she hasn't earned the success that she wants. She isn't capable of, and she feels like she's bluffing her way through things, and she's just dealing with it quietly. And she's like, how do I earn success? And I just sat back and just let her talk. And then I started asking her questions. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Tami, and I am so excited that you're here. I am so excited that you came to the Full Weight of Joy podcast. And this podcast is for women who are done feeling the weight of the world, and we want to experience life to the fullest. We want to make an impact. We want to leave a legacy. We want to know what we've been put on this earth for, and we want to do it. Not only for ourselves to feel the fulfillment and the joy, but also just to impact and to be more and more like Jesus every day. And so today we are going to dive into this concept of imposter syndrome, overwhelm, and feeling stuck. This is not a new concept. I know that there's times that I have felt imposter syndrome. I have felt overwhelmed. Okay. Often I feel overwhelmed. And there are times that I really do feel like I don't know which way to go. And that's what I want to talk about today, because what if I told you that those are not bad places to be? What if I told you that that's actually the start of something pretty amazing, and that's an indicator that you're right where you should be? All right. Well, let me explain. Let's dive in and really get down to it. So Aristotle, famous philosopher, says, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. It's the beginning of all wisdom. And so I was looking up what does God say about wisdom? Because he has a lot to say about wisdom. And in Proverbs 2:6 says, for the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. So we are made in God's image, right? So we are made in his image. We're striving to be more and more like Jesus. And wisdom is crucial. We can ask for it and he will give it to us, and he gives it to us. Well, what's so crazy is when we start to look at ourselves, when we start to look at how he wired us, because we are all unique. We are all different. We are all, we have, like they said, like 99% of our chromosomes are exactly the same. And 1% of our chromosome is completely different, even in identical twins. Just that 1% makes us so unique, just that one thing. And so I wanted to talk about what imposter syndrome, what overwhelm, what the feeling, of being stuck really does, and how we can dismantle it, and also how we can use it as a good thing, and that we can embrace when we start to feel like this. So stick with me. And so let's just talk about imposter syndrome in the first place. Like, where does this term come from, and what does it mean? And I want you to hear some of the words that are used to describe it. This is the nagging feeling that you're just faking it. Like, you're not as skilled or worthy as other people, or as other people think. And one day they're going to figure it out. They're going to realize it. It's what happens when you don't fully see your own unique strengths, leaving you feeling out of place. So it also is an external, and it's an outward feeling orientation. It is what others perceive. It's we talked last week about the mirror, right? We talked about the 3 layers of ourselves, and that the reflective mirror, or the surface layer, which is what others see. the reflective, which is kind of where we stay typically, where it's it's like our inner narrative. And then there's the true essence layer of really how God wired us. And if we don't work to get to that true essence layer, we stay stuck in those top two, like what other people see, and then our inner narratives that are also created by either what our beliefs are, which are not necessarily true, or what other people have said. So that outward appearance, that outward orientation. And so the imposter syndrome phrase that was first coined by a Pauline Clancy, but in 1978. They were actually looking at creating this, like they thought it was a psychological diagnosis. They wanted to put it in the DSM, but failed because it's an internal experience of intellectual phoniness. So it's a feeling. This is not a truth. This is just a feeling you get. And I love this because it really is that safety versus success. And so it's that feeling that you are not enough, that feeling that others are going to find out that you are not what you say you are. It's the feeling that you are not capable of what you want, or that you're deserving of what you want. It's a feeling. And so then let's talk about overwhelm for a moment. It's that all too familiar sense of having way too much on our plate. And not enough clarity to know what to do with it. We don't have the boundaries, we don't have the priorities, we don't have the values. We have so much. We've said yes to so much that we don't actually know what drives us. We don't know what it is that really we need to do to get that impact and fulfillment and legacy and to feel the full weight of joy. And so it typically leads us to the point of spinning, analysis paralysis, and exhaustion. Like this leads us to burnout. And then there's that feeling of being stuck. It's the frustrating feeling that we are hitting a wall. And typically it comes because we are overwhelmed, or because we have that feeling that we're just faking it. And so it's without a clear understanding of our core values, our strengths, and even what's holding us back, it's easy to stay in the same place. All of these are safety mechanisms. All of these are our brains are experiencing like mayday, mayday. We are getting ready to get uncomfortable. Let's put out the roadblocks. Let's put out let's throw out the feelings of the unworthiness that keeps you right where you are. Okay, so this is not a bad thing when we experience these. If you stay here, if you believe what your brain is serving you, that can lead to bad things. That can lead to, if you stay in imposter syndrome and overwhelm and being stuck for too long, then those beliefs are ingrained even more, and you start to believe that that's what you're capable of, or you'll never rise above it. That is completely false, ladies, completely false. And let me tell you a couple of things here. So during my research of this imposter syndrome concept, I was looking in, did you know that it's mainly experienced by high functioning individuals who high functioning, highly ambitious, driven, educated, and whether educated is formal or street cred, like it is for people, it's experienced by people who desire more. It is not experienced by people who are not capable, who are not high functioning. They describe their fears in a different way. They don't say, I have imposter syndrome. They will say that, it's just fears. Like I didn't study the terms because I really wanted to focus on what you needed to hear and know that by experiencing imposter syndrome, you are putting yourself in the category of the top 20%. Like it means that you care about what you're doing. It means that what you are doing, what you're about to step into, matters to you enough to that you want to do it right, that you want to make an impact, you want to serve, that you want to do a good job. Is that bad? No, it's not. it's not a bad thing. And so understanding that imposter syndrome actually is a sign that, hey, you really care about what you're doing. Not a bad thing. It means you're pushing yourself to your limits. It means you are pushing, and your brain is going to stop you way before your capability. Your brain is going to throw on the brake way faster than what either your body can handle, what your skills can handle, what you're capable of, or even good enough or worthy of doing. Your brain is going to put up those, throw in those feelings way before you get to your actual limit. So that is a sign that you are about to cross over into new territory, that you are pushing yourself closer and closer to what you're capable of. It's not a sign that you are not capable. It's a sign that you are getting ready to experience something that is what you haven't experienced before. And then the third one is that it's the direct indication that you get to look at your strengths and connect them to what you're doing. It shows that you have your desire, but you haven't looked within to see, okay, what strengths do I hold? What talents do I have? What gifts did God gift me with to be able to step into this new role, this new business, this new identity, this new thing that I'm called to do? So this imposter syndrome, this feeling of overwhelm and this being stuck is like the shadow of your success. It's lurking there to show you when you're getting close. So if we can reframe this, if we can start looking at it and saying, okay, ooh, I've got imposter syndrome. Like I must be doing something right. Because just go with me here. Like, and know that people who are not capable, if you truly were not capable, you would not be feeling imposter syndrome. You would be feeling the lack of knowledge. Not that what knowledge you have is not good enough. So a completely different experience. So the fact that you are feeling like it may not be enough is because you care so much. And so I wanted to talk about today, I want to talk about 3 ways we can dismantle these. The 3, when you know that you have it, like celebrate that for a moment. Like take a deep breath and be like, well, this is fixable. This is not even, it's not an indication that you're doing something wrong. It's an indication you are moving in the right direction. It's an indication that that you are getting ready to experience something that you really want. So when you feel this sense of overwhelm, be like, okay, now I know I'm getting into, I know that I want something. Our tendency is to add things like we can do so much, like even with serving, let's say when serving in the schools, because schools always need help, right? Schools always need bodies. They need help, and we love to support our teachers. So it's not a bad thing that they need help, but we love to support our teachers. But you see that it's the same few people who are doing things like multiple things. It's 20% of the people doing 80% of the work. And so those individuals who are overwhelmed is because they feel that sense of responsibility. They feel that sense that okay, well, if not who, okay, I'll do it. If other people don't step up, I want my kids to have a great experience, so I will do it. And so the overwhelm comes when you're doing too much, and you instead of figuring out, okay, what is my sweet spot? What is my zone of genius? Where can I serve and get the most bang for the buck? You just do everything. And so that's where the overwhelm comes from. It's not because you're not capable. It's because you're too capable, and you haven't just gotten clear with yourself. You haven't gotten the wisdom of, how am I wired? Who did God create me to be? What is my purpose? What is the vision I have for my life? And feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and this imposter syndrome is an indication that you get to step back and really take a look at things. That it's the indication that you are good enough. In my mind, all of a sudden that old school Saturday Night Live skit that like, I'm good enough, I'm strong enough, I'm good enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. It's this imposter syndrome, overwhelm, and being stuck are indicators that you're going the right direction. It just means that you get to step back and you get to readdress, you get to reassess, and you get to figure out, okay, what is for me and what's not. And so let's talk about 3 ways to get real with yourself and dismantle imposter syndrome, overwhelm and feeling stuck, having the stuckness. And the first one is get clarity on your unique value. The 1% that God made you different. What makes you tick? What's your zone of genius? What lights you up? What thing that can you do that serves, that actually brings you energy instead of dragging and pulling you back from energy? I am I love to serve, and when I see a need, I know that if I can feel it, I'll do it. One thing as I gotten older, it's been more and more clear to me is, yes, I love babies. They're great. They're fine. But I don't love sitting and rocking babies. I don't love doing that. Will I do that? Yes. When our church needs people to rock babies, that is something that I will do. But that is not my zone of genius. That's not something babies are cute. Babies are fine. And then I'm ready to give them back. I loved my babies. I loved them. And I do. There's elements of them being teenagers that I love even more. I love having conversations with them. I don't like the arguments. Babies are easy because you get to, they just very limited needs. Or they may have a lot of needs, but they fit into very limited categories, sleep, food, and change. You can make that work. Teens need about the same thing, but it manifests in many different ways. Just go eat an apple, go have a pizza, go eat something, and then we'll talk. But clarity on our unique value. What makes you tick? When you stop looking outside for validation or comparison, because the other thing too is a lot of times this imposter syndrome comes because you look at someone doing something similar to you. There are thousands of people doing what you can do, but there is only one you and can do it the way that you do it. And so that's where getting clear, getting focused, and looking at looking within, being internally focused instead of externally, internally focused. It's really important that we understand our needs, our desires, how God wired us. And I know you're thinking, Tami, we're supposed to serve, and it's not good to to be selfish. It's not about being selfish. It's realizing that God didn't call us to do everything. He gave us an assignment. And we are I've heard this term recently, the CEO of your God's assignment. And I love that, because if you don't figure out what your assignment is, and you're just doing all the things, you're actually not using your gifts to the best of their ability. So instead, when we're grounded in our own strengths, when we're grounded in our experiences, and it reduces that feeling that we're pretending or faking it, because it's what's naturally within us. We don't have that feeling that we don't belong because we know that God's called us. We know. And so getting clarity on our unique value, on our zone of genius, on our secret sauce, on what we're good at, our strengths, gifts, and talents, that helps dismantle imposter syndrome, because we can see why we do what we do. Excuse me. Alignment with our true self. So we talked about how we wanted authenticity last podcast. We crave this authenticity, and the imposter syndrome feeds off misalignment when you're not doing what's true to you. When I'm going and rocking babies, and I say this because this is something that I was asked to do recently, and it's of course I have the time, you have the need, I will do it. But I also know that that's not something they're like, oh, do you want to sign up? I was like, well, no, because I'm actually serving in these 3 areas in these areas I love, and they bring me energy, versus me sitting here thinking of other things that I should be doing. And so this alignment with your true self, it's not about saying no to everything. It's about saying yes to the right things. When you align yourself with your the real you, your gifts, talents, I'm going to beat that in, strengths, gifts, talents, and strengths, then you're not faking it. you are doing what you're called to do. It's by getting real with yourself, you can show up more confidently. You can, when imposter syndrome comes in, you can say, well, I have never done this before. However, I know this is what God's gifted me with, and so I can figure it out. And so when you align yourself with your true essence, with your true self, and this is that third layer of that mirror I was talking about, that true essence layer, where this is how God wired you. Then we can have that confidence of knowing, like, I don't know what the future holds. I know who holds the future, and I know that He's given me the skills and the experiences to figure anything out. Like, He's given me the scrappiness. Look at the things you've been through and use those strengths and those skills that you've learned, those talents you've developed, those gifts that He's given you naturally, that other people look at you and are in awe because they don't have the same gifts. And instead of trying to fit you into what you think you want, getting clear, and don't try to fit yourself into an identity that isn't truly yours. Step into who God called you to be. He knows who you are. He counted the hairs on your head. He numbered your years. He planned good work for you to do before you were even born. So now you get to spend your life on, like, pulling off the layers of the misidentity and the things that don't belong to you. And so you can step into who God called you to be. So when you align with your true self, this also dismantles the overwhelm, because then you know, like, okay, this is what I'm called to do. This doesn't really, like, I know Susie down the street. She would be really good at this. This is what she's called to do. And so you're able to like step into who you need to be. And then the third layer here, the third element that helps you dismantle the imposter syndrome and step out of overwhelm, and then realize that you're not actually stuck, you're safe, is this empowered decision making. Knowing yourself deeply means that you can make a decision based on your values, your strengths, your gifts. So I know I'm saying these words over and over because I want you to see that it's really not that hard. It's not like you need to know a million things. You get to know you. You get to know, excuse me, man, I have like hiccups and cough and all the things today. But it's not based on what others expect. This is where this outward focus, where we get to go inward focus. We get to look at, and again, I keep mentioning it's how God wired you, because there's this thought that self-improvement or this self-help, which a lot of the world's self-help is kind of self-centered. And even like trying to get what you desire, if it is all material things, that, yeah, let's take a look at your heart with that. But the thing is I know that if you're listening to this, like a villa in Italy would be great, but stepping into who God's called you to be would be amazing. Like living out your purpose and leaving this legacy that God's called us to leave behind, that's what lights us up. So when we take this and we can make decisions based on who He created us to be, rather than what other people expect of us, or or what other people think that we should do, this outward appearance, because when their thoughts are typically based in their fears, their needs, it's even based on their gifts. So they are looking at you through the lens of them, because we can only see us through the lens of us. And we can see them through the lens of us. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, a way to talk about this is like the 5 love languages, right? And it talks, when you know the 5 love languages, it's not about just knowing how you want to be loved, but it's really finding out how others need to be loved, right? And the leadership, it's not about just leading how you want to be led. It's you get to know the people you're with and lead them the way they need you to lead them. So this is actually an incredibly unselfish, thing to do. When you know your needs, then you can say, okay, in this moment, what do I need? And then you can ask yourself, okay, I know that this person in front of me doesn't need the same thing. What do they need? And even when you're trying to choose between a yes and a no, you can say, you can ask them, okay, what is the intention here? Like, what outcome are you looking to get? Because and then you can say, well, this doesn't really align. This is the part I can offer you. That this, like, let's find someone else who can really do this. This empowered decision making, it allows you to remove the self-doubt, and it allows you to take ownership for your success, and ownership in your impact, and ownership in the decisions that you make. And so it's not really about, it's this imposter syndrome, this overwhelm, and this being stuck. Can you see how it's actually not a bad thing? It's a call to get clear. It's a call to clarity. It's a call for you to step back and say, okay, what's going right and where am I misaligned? It's not about the fact that you're not capable. Because if we got down to it, and my friend who I talked about at the beginning, she's one of the most capable people, and what she's doing, I'm like, you're already doing it. What do you mean you feel like you're faking it? I was like, you are making a true impact. People who like aren't capable don't feel these things. They may have overwhelm, but they describe it in other things. And actually, they may feel stuck, but it's because they are immobile, not because there's too many options, or there's too many options for them and too many ways to go. So we get to embrace this imposter syndrome, and we get to decide, because it's not a bad thing. This is a call to clarity. This is a call that we are going in the right direction, and we just get to step back, and we get to make some decisions here. We get to ask ourselves some questions, and we get to see, and we get to talk to our friends and say, okay, I'm feeling. We all know that our feelings are not truth. Like, they are not the ultimate truth. Our feelings typically last about 90 seconds. And when you lean into your feelings, a lot of times they come and go. Take a moment and be like, oh, I feel like I'm not capable of this. Then let that go and say, okay, how can I figure this out? But instead of feeling this imposter syndrome and then allowing it to paralyze you, or going into I'm not worthy, or I'm just faking it. You're not faking it being you. Let's look at what your strengths are, your gifts are, and let's get past it, because you have something amazing to do for the world. God has called you to something great. And let's get out of our own head. Let's get out of that safety mechanism and move into success. Let's get out of this stuck and start getting into action. And so this is just, I want you to see, and I want you to ask yourself, where are you feeling imposter syndrome? And ask yourself, like, go through some of these things that I've been talking about. Like, do you really feel you're not capable? Like, when push comes to shove, like, are you not worthy? Are you not capable? Does that mean that if you believe God called you to this, is he going to leave you high and dry? Heck no. So use this as a way to get clear. Use this as a way to, like, okay, how do I ask myself questions? And this is where working with a coach can help. So I'm doing something different. Because I have a lot of my clients have been experiencing this. This is something that's imposter syndrome, overwhelm. It's something I've seen and I've heard people, and it stops them. Well, I have imposter syndrome. Well, it's the imposter syndrome that's come up. It's like, okay, this is not a neurological disorder. This is a feeling and putting yourself into safety mode. So what I want to offer you is, I know that we can dismantle this. We can dismantle this together. This is something that I've done for myself, I've done for my clients, and we can create this empowerment decision-making framework. We can look at your core values, your core strengths, your gifts, your talents, look at how you're wired. And so you can create these boundaries and this decision-making framework. That's like, yeah, is it a yes or a no? Well, let me consult my notes here. Like, you'll have a physical way of looking at, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel stuck. How can I get out of this? And so I want to offer you, and 3 people, like, I have room for three one-on-ones only, which we will work together for 3 months, specifically on dismantling this overwhelm, getting rid of imposter syndrome, and giving that, because it's going to let's say it's going to come back. Every time we level up, those fears are going to come back, but it doesn't have to stop you. We'll talk together and we'll work together to dismantle this, not only for this time, but for the next time it comes up as well. So now when you feel imposter syndrome, you can get excited about like what is about to happen, and that clarity, like you'll know how to get the clarity you need. So could you imagine waking up in the new year, experiencing the confidence and then knowing the action you need to take by being able to make decisions and create boundaries and say yes to the things you really want to do and no to the things that you know that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so, and though I can't promise I could tell you everything's going to happen, I can help you see how everything's figure outable. And if you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know your core avoidances, you know how to motivate yourself, you know why behind the why. This imposter syndrome, this feeling of overwhelm and being stuck is not a hindrance for you. It is actually something that you can get excited and then you can see how it's actually you're about to up level, how you're about to step into something you've never done before, but you're about to experience something that God wants for you. And so I have 3 spots. If you are interested, the way to get one of these spots is to get on a call. If you want to see if this is right for you, get on a call with me. The link is in the show notes. And again, I like 3 spots. That's all I have. With the holidays coming up and the new year. And know that my one-on-one prices are going up in the new year because I'm actually going to, I've been working on this group program called Align and Shine. And we'll talk about, we're going to take this imposter syndrome and different things, but over the course of a couple of months, we're going to do this. But if you want to do it, just you and I, just one-on-one, we'll dive into your personalized framework, your personalized experience, then this is the time to do it. Because I've got some really exciting things coming next year, things that I'm, I'll talk about more, but one is, my son is going to be a senior next year, and I want to spend more time with his class. So with him. And so I'm actually lowering my hours that I'm working, and not to get too much into it, but I'm really excited because as I'm crafting what next year looks like, and I'm looking at my goals and my vision for next year, and I want that group coaching experience because I know how valuable and how much groups have up-leveled my life. And I want that for you as well, which means that I can't work with as many one-on-ones because our time is limited. So all that to say, I have 3 spots. For 3 months, we'll work together and dismantle this. We'll figure out your true self. We will look at what the 3 layers of the mirror, what is your surface layer, reflective layer, and your true essence layer. We're going to look at how God wired you. What if you knew how to motivate yourself? What if you knew what something else that we're working on is how to get the best out of you? What if you knew what people misunderstood about you? And so you know how to explain, how to explain it so they don't misunderstand you. I feel like I've been misunderstood multiple times in my life. And it's really just because they didn't see my motivation. Well, when I explain, okay, no, this is what drives me. This is what my intention is. They're like, oh, well, let's do that. And so wouldn't you love to be able to confidently step into who God called you to be? And what if it only took, I bet we could actually do it in less than 3 months, but because of the holidays and everything, I want to give space for real growth. And come on this journey with me. Come on the journey. I am super excited. So if this is you, don't wait, get on my calendar. We will talk about it. I will give you an honest assessment of, yes, this is right for you, or maybe what what would be best. So there's no fear, there's no commitment by getting on the call. Just get on the call. We can talk about, we're going to talk about you and what you want. It has nothing to do with my other clients. It has nothing to do with what others believe that you should be doing. Let's really look at how God wired you and what your purpose is. So if you're ready to dismantle this imposter syndrome, you're ready to step out of overwhelm and stop describing your life as busy or feeling stuck, this coaching is for you. All right. With that, friend, I am so excited that you're here. I am so reared up. Like, I've been planning 2025, and yes, I realize that we have 6 weeks left of 2024. So I am not, I'm not giving up these 6 weeks. I have goals for these 6 weeks too, as I know you do. So let's stick with it. Let's get excited, and let's work together to create this life that we want, that we know that God's put on our heart. All right, with that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.